Welcome not only our beautiful faces, but also 3.0 of our mock draft.
Absolutely.
We got a lot of this planned out. Obviously, a lot of research into this as the off season's broken down as we get closer to draft day. Obviously, still a few pieces to fall into place and question marks along free agency, etc. But a lot of teams seem to know what they want. A lot of teams have some glaring holes. A lot of teams we don't know what's going on. But that's the fun of mock draft season, and that's why we're here.
Absolutely. So we dug in a little deeper this time, digging into some more of the team needs. And I think we put together a beautiful mock draft 3.0 for you guys that we're going to share with you and a breakdown of the picks as we go along. So the 101 remains to be the Tennessee Titans. This is a pick I think it wouldn't be crazy to see another trade. We're not predicting that right here in the moment, but I think just with so much talent on the board, the Titans could trade out to maybe the 2, 3, or 4 pick and still remain with one of those top 4 guys. I think they would be happy and maybe pick up some capital for the future. I'm not saying they do that. I think having the pick of your choosing in this draft is very valuable. Obviously, there's a lot of talent, but like there's 1 or 2 guys that stick out more than the others.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this is one of the biggest question marks, one of the most confusing drafts when it comes to like people not necessarily being set on their picks, not being locked in on that spot, specifically being open to moves.
Right.
You never know.
Yeah. But for now, I think where our heads are at, they're going to remain.
I think the 101 I'm almost certain on just because of that glaring hole.
Yeah. It's still got to continue to be Cam Ward. They need a quarterback very badly. Yes, Shedeur is in this class, but we're talking about upside and potential and the ability to be great in the future. I think Cam Ward gives you a little more of that. I love Shedeur. I think he's more of a plug-and-play ready guy now. I think if you want to build and have someone to kind of mold, it's Cam Ward.
Absolutely. I mean, he stuck out more. His pro day, he looked amazing. Shedeur's had more question marks. There's the question marks about arrogance, confidence, all this other stuff. Shedeur still looks like a really valuable player and someone that could succeed in the NFL, and he's got all the tools. But Cam Ward has the physical attributes. He's checked all the boxes. He's the almost for sure thing in this weaker draft class of quarterbacks that word's been tossed around. I think that could change when next season gets here and we see these quarterbacks actually perform. I think a lot of that will change.
100%.
But Cam Ward is a perfect guy to come in and replace Will Levis. Maybe juice up Will Levis for some competition in the preseason or training camps. But when the season gets here, Cam Ward's QB1. Get things rolling in Tennessee with your quarterback. That's the foundation. And then you rebuild. Cam Ward should be 101.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. So that moves us to number 2, the Cleveland Browns. And this is where we're going to begin to shake things up a little bit. We did some discussion on this before the draft, and I think we came to a little bit of a conclusion that we're going to have our first trade of mock draft season, for our mock drafts at least. And the Browns are going to move out of this pick.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of talk here about what the Browns do if they do something here. I think the biggest thing is how many holes they still have.
Right.
How many improvements they still need. They could get that draft capital. They could fill other pieces later in the draft that, I mean, if you're not necessarily sold on a certain player here, move back and get someone you're more certain of.
I mean, we've talked about it. A lot of the experts have talked about it. This class is very, very, very deep at almost every position. A lot of people have said, Adam Schefter himself said, you could get a guy in rounds 3 through 7 that's going to be just as valuable as rounds 1 and 2. I mean, even getting any kind of asset in this trade is going to be huge for Cleveland later down in this draft. So where they're moving to is not very far out of where they're at now. It's going to be not a very huge trade, but it's a trade to gain some assets. We're sending the Browns to pick number 3, and we're allowing the New York Giants to move up, and we're going to discuss why. The Browns in this spot are a very weird team. They need quarterback, if we're being 100% honest. But
I didn't realize it was on locked on here.
It's okay.
I didn't realize they were on this version.
Yeah, it's okay. We know. We'll talk about it. But the Browns are a team that have passed before on players of need. They've kind of flopped at a few quarterback selections the last couple of years, probably 10 years, I guess. So they're a team that could look to stay away for now just to see what happens with Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson, I guess. And they're going to give a team like the Giants to move up one pick, secure that from being traded for any other team, and give them the opportunity to draft a quarterback of the future once this one-year deal with Russell Wilson expires.
Absolutely. Shador, I mean, he came out with the cleats. His dad has already came out and said we prefer New York. It just seems like a good spot for him. Everything's in peace. That's the glaring need in New York. Tommy Cutlets is not your quarterback. DeVito is not your guy. You have pieces in New York where you can succeed. You have a running back in Tyrone Tracy that seem to be a budding piece of your offense. Malik Neighbors, obviously a great start, hitting 1K in his rookie season. You have the pieces. Get Shador, who proved the confidence is a good thing, prove he's not arrogant, that he's confident, and can let him come in and do his thing.
100%.
So, the Giants take Shador too.
Absolutely. Just pretend that's a Giants logo. The website not working with us the way we want it to.
Absolutely. When we go back and edit, we'll put the Giants logo.
Yeah. Brings us to 3, which is now
The Cleveland Browns.
100%. Now, looking at this board, quarterbacks are gone. There's not a quarterback with any value that you drafted 3, but there's 2 guys that stand out a lot, can be the best players in the draft.
A lot of value later in rounds for Cleveland to still make their move, find somebody they have faith in, and compete in training camps.
Right. Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are both still left. These are the top 2 guys on the board. 100%. Everybody knows that. Which one do you take? There's a lot of questions. You could pair Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett and have one of the best 1-2 edge rushers all the while. Or you could go out and pick up a guy like Travis Hunter that fills a very big need for the Cleveland Browns. Yes, you have the quarterback situation, but your wide receivers are not good. Jerry Jeudy had a little bit of an outbreak last year, but he's about it. David Njoku isn't going to be what he's always been. He's going to start to hit the decline at some point. He's getting older. You need a spark of young age.
Yeah, you need a playmaker. Regardless of who you throw in at quarterback, they need a playmaker to get the ball to.
Yeah.
You're not going to get down the field without a playmaker. And again, regardless of who the QB is, you need someone to throw the ball to, someone that can bring the ball in, make a play. And I mean, again, he still has the upside of being able to come in some random defensive packages, have whatever you want to mix with Denzel Ward or whoever in the defense, and let him throw out those coverages. But there's glaring holes at the wide receiver.
Yeah. The way I look at it, Travis Hunter gives you a way better chance to go win games than Abdul Carter does. You have possibly the best pass rusher in football. I know it's a very deep discussion at that position, but Myles Garrett, a former D boy, a guy you just paid to be the highest paid player outside of quarterbacks in NFL history. He's going to make plays for you. You don't need Abdul Carter, but I feel like you need Travis Hunter.
Absolutely. So now the Cleveland Browns at pick 3 take Travis Hunter. Brings us to the New England Patriots.
They made a lot of moves. The Patriots are a very different looking team. Free agency was huge for them. And the biggest move of all was to pick up a Stephon Diggs, which kind of very much solidified your wide receiver core, at least your wide receiver 1.
Absolutely. You get Drake May at target, and this is the first team on our board at pick 4 that doesn't need a quarterback. Your future quarterback set. He's a stud. Looks great. You got him a target he can finally throw the ball to. That he's thanked the front office a lot since that move. Let's give him another move to thank the front office for.
Yeah. Quite possibly, in a lot of people's opinion, the best player in the whole draft. I mean, just all around wise. But Abdul Carter's on the board at 4. He cannot fall any farther than this if the Patriots don't take you. I see them trade down. I feel like if they get to this pick, there's going to be a lot of interest at pick 4 if Abdul Carter's still on the board. And maybe they finesse a trade. We'll see. But if they stick and pick it, I mean, it's got to be Abdul.
Yeah, I said at our last mock draft that if you sit here and you're the New England Patriots and possibly the best player in draft falls to you at 4 because of outside drama and need, you're the happiest team in the draft. You come away with a steal regardless.
Right, 100%. So Abdul Carter at 4 to Mike Vrabel-led Patriots.
Exactly. He loves his defense. That brings us to the Jaguars.
Yeah. New addition at head coach, Mr. Liam Cohen.
Duval.
Yeah, that was the worst way to be introduced as the starting head coach. But hey, to each their own, I guess. But this is a team that could use a few different things. But I think there's a big glaring need on the playmaking side of the ball for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you have obviously standout Brian Thomas, who had a fantastic year last year. Could have been rookie of the year, barring the crazy year from Jake Daniels. But we know what Liam Cohen loves to do. Obviously, the former Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator. He loved to pass the ball. A very pass-heavy scheme with Baker and Mike and all them guys. And I think that trend continues here, especially just with the potential that Trevor Lawrence still does have. I mean, he's still young, hasn't panned out quite yet, but he's still got some time. And if Liam can get him a couple targets, I feel like it could be a big spot for Trevor to have a much better year than he did last year.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people expect the norm here, the system norm. I feel like this is the first little shakeup, the first time they don't realize that there's a new head coach in town to make this big.
Absolutely. So we're going with Arizona wide receiver standout, big boy, Mr. Tetaroa, however you say it.
Yeah, territorial.
Yeah, McMillan.
Is his new nickname. I've said it for the last few weeks because who knows how you pronounce it at this point.
No offense to him, man.
Terrorora.
Just can't pronounce the name. We gave it our best shot. We're going Mr. T-Mac, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Paired with Brian Thomas Jr.
Beautiful 1-2 punch at the wide receiver core.
We're back to Las Vegas. Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, Brock Bowers.
This is an offense that has a chance to do a little bit if they can find the right pieces.
Very tough division.
Yeah, very tough. I don't feel like they're going to be a great team, but Pete Carroll can kind of start the mold of this rebuild and kind of put them in the right direction. And they have a glaring, huge, fat need at running back. Sincere McCormick is not the guy, I promise. Zamir White did not pan out whatsoever to what they thought he was going to be.
You have Raheem Mostert at almost 40-something at this point. It feels like set to be your starting running back.
Yeah, essentially. When you look at you're here at the board at 6, we saw the Falcons do it 2 years ago with Mr. B. John Robinson. And he is the best running back. Well, could be the best running back in that class. Could be argued with Jameer Gibbs. But we've seen it pan out for them. He's a huge part of their offense, a very big piece for them. A lot of the touchdowns scored. I don't think it's crazy to draft a running back this high, especially with the talent they have.
Didn't the Cowboys take Zeke at 4?
Yeah.
Put that out there.
He had a couple good seasons, but we see what happens right now. This is a beautiful pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll loves his small, bulky, fast running backs. We're going Mr. Ashton Jeanty.
You get Heisman runner-up, a new spark to that offense in Ashton Jeanty.
He deserves to be a top 10 pick.
The New York Jets. They stole away my quarterback. Oh,
yeah.
They got disdain in my heart, but they got potential.
Justin Fields, man. He's a guy that's still young.
He's a guy that's really good at the quarterback position and should have been doing it in a Steelers uniform.
Yeah. Unfortunate for y'all, but a big up for New York. They finally figured out their quarterback position for the future. And what's the biggest thing of having a quarterback with up-and-coming talent?
And especially a mobile one, protecting him.
Absolutely. We haven't seen an offensive lineman off the board just yet in this first 6 picks. I think that changes here. And a guy that's been a huge draft board riser the last couple of weeks, especially with the combine, is our man, Mr.
Armand Membu.
Absolutely. We're taking the first tackle off the board. Just got to keep protecting. You took Fashanu last year, solidify your 2 tackles for the future, and just build around Justin Fields.
Absolutely. You saw he's strong and fast. He's able to move along with Justin Fields. He's able to move that O-line forward for Breece Hall. Give Justin Fields half a second to get the ball to Garrett Wilson or break out of the pocket. Regardless, make magic with that new Aaron Glenn offense in New York.
100%.
Let him cook.
100%.
Brings us to the Panthers. You saw a little bit of hope, a little bit of spark again after Rod Wave became our hero for Mr. Bryce Young. Gave him something to fight for, I guess, in Carolina.
Sold.
Hey,
Never have been.
we'll see. New season. He needs some help.
He's got to do it consistently. But He doesn't have anything crazy on that offense. I mean, he's got a couple targets. Adam Thielen still playing at a pretty elite level. Xavier Legette is only going to get better. Jay Coker showed a few flashes. He's got some weapons.
Jonathan Brooks still in the trenches over there.
Didn't really see him much due to the injuries last year. But you have a big glaring need on the defense, and that's at your edge rushing position.
You can't have that defense coming back in and trying to fight for their lives down a possession every time they come back on the field.
100%. You need very much help getting to the quarterback. It's one of the biggest part of the game now. You see a lot of good edge rushers be some of the most valuable players in the league. If you can get a good one and kind of build him up on the defensive side, it'll be a big piece for you. We're going with the next best edge rusher on the board, and that's Mr. Jalen Walker from Alabama, I believe, right? Yeah. Or Georgia, excuse me. Georgia and Alabama boys. Okay, confusing. All right.
The New Orleans Saints.
Yeah. I think that this is one of the better picks we've had in the last few years. I think we have a really good shot here to get a really good player.
A lot of potential in this range. I mean, I've said it since draft season has been on us, since mock season, whatever you want to call it. I mean, after the top 3 or 4, the draft is thick.
It really begins, yeah.
It's the rest of the draft. There's a lot of value.
Draft begins at 5, if you ask me. Top 4 is solidified. There's a lot of good value left on the board, a lot of big names still here as of our mock draft currently. But the biggest position I feel like is our need now. We have a lot of positions in need, don't get me wrong, but we kind of dismantled our cornerback group. We traded away Marshawn Lattimore. We let Paulson Adebo walk to the Giants. We still have Kool-Aid, we still have Monte Taylor. They can't do it all. Why not go get the second best corner in this draft, Mr. Will Johnson from Michigan? He's still on the board. Obviously, Travis Hunter, probably the best corner in the draft. But outside of him, the most talented, athletic guy. It could be a huge piece for the future.
Absolutely a dog. The Chicago Bears. New head coach Ben Johnson.
Yeah. And we know what Ben Johnson loves to do. He loves the 1-2 running back punch, the trick plays, the cool, quick plays. I mean, he loves to get down the field very fast.
He showed that playbook last season for sure.
Yeah. And then Chicago, obviously, we know the big need for them was the offensive line. They fill a lot of positions. They've done their thing over on that part. But if there's not a running back here of value to fit with DeAndre Swift, why not continue to build the O-line, really solidify, make sure Caleb Williams is fine, and to allow them to run the ball as much as they want and go get the next best offensive lineman on the board.
Absolutely. You beefed up the interior. Why stop there? Get the outside, get one of the best tackles, if not the best tackle in the draft. Keep protecting Caleb and opening up that offense.
Absolutely, Mr. Will Campbell. All right, bring us to number 11, the 49ers. We've seen a lot of changes for San Fran this offseason. Lost quite a few guys.
Absolutely.
They have a lot. Yeah, so they have a lot to fix. They have a couple glaring holes now that we're not used to seeing for San Fran. For the first time in the last couple of years, we can talk about filling some holes on the defense. The interior of that defensive line for the last few years has kind of been their main problem. They've never really had that solid D tackle. They've shot on a few picks and haven't really worked out. Javon Kinlaw, biggest of them all. So they really need to fill that role. And you have a guy on the board here that fell down to 11 that can be a top 5 pick in any other draft. A guy that has a lot of potential, very big guy in the middle. We're going with Michigan standout defensive tackle, Mr. Mason Graham. I feel like it's a beautiful fit for the 49ers.
Absolutely. It's something of need after they lost a lot of their defense.
100%.
Dallas Cowboys need some help. Obviously, Jerry Jones needs to be gone for anything to change, but, there's hope here at 12. When Travis and John are running your mock release.
We try our best. Not to brag too much. But we know the biggest thing for Dak Prescott is his lack of weapons. Making his comeback this year, we know he's not the greatest quarterback in the league, but he's shown a few, spots of hope at some points. But with only having CeeDee Lamb as the only guy to get the ball to him, it's going to cause a lot of problems. You don't really have a running back that you can rely on. You only got Miles Sanders. You don't have a wide receiver too. And there's a guy here that had a really good combine. He shot up a lot of boards the last couple of weeks. And a guy that can be a big playmaker. Keep him in the talent where he's plays.
Homegrown boy.
Yeah. The fastest 40 for wide receivers in the entire draft. We're going with Mr. Matthew Golden from the Texas Longhorns.
Absolutely. As much as I can't stand Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys as an NFL fan that's not a Cowboys fan, Dak Prescott multiple times has been in MVP conversations. He's had the stats up until they get past that bye week and the playoffs come around, and that's the new conversation of MVP statistics.
Right.
So, I mean, get him that weapon, turn things around, and start the turnaround in Dallas.
Yeah, and I feel like a selection like that's going to help CeeDee Lamb so much as well. I feel like it's at the point
you take some pressure off.
Yeah, where you could double team CeeDee Lamb and be okay with it because they don't have any other options.
Absolutely, they're going to have to lob the ball up to Brandon Cooks.
He's in New Orleans. They can't.
Oh yeah, not Brandon Cooks. I forgot.
They don't have much of anything left over there. So.
Kavontae Turpin.
Yeah,
that's what they lob the ball up to.
Yeah, so if they don't take wide receiver, it could be a rough go for CeeDee Lamb this year.
Absolutely, Miami Dolphins.
There's quite a few positions that they could start to fill.
They got their CTE QB.
Yeah, and they're starting to get old in a few spots. Obviously, the offense is kind of solidified as it has been for a little while now with the receivers, Hill, Waddle, Devon Achane, all those guys. So why not help the defense out a little bit? You still have a few big names though. Biggest of all, Jalen Ramsey, your standout corner.
He's getting older.
Yeah, and starting to lose a little bit of that umph he used to have.
Yeah, that aggression.
Yeah, and the rest of the defense has a few spots where you've worked on the edge the last few years, drafting guys like Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, and all those guys. Why not go help out the secondary? I know you just lost Javon Holland, so you probably need him as safety, but why not go help the cornerback crew on the other side of Jalen Ramsey and get the next best corner in the draft, guy who had a big year, back-to-back Texas Longhorns here, Mr. Jahdae Barron.
Absolutely. I didn't even notice the back-to-back Longhorns.
Yeah.
Meant to be.
100%.
And you get to beef up that defense with an aging Jalen Ramsey.
100%. All right.
Local fans stand up. The Indianapolis Colts on the board at 14. Obviously, still hesitant with AR. I know a lot of fans are at this point ready to move on. New QB battle coming for training camp with Daniel Jones. AR's been training with Josh Allen's QB coach. That's something to look forward to.
Right.
But this gives you potential in this pick. This gives you something to look forward to. Obviously, there's still a lot of youth and potential in Indy, a lot of things to look forward to. But they need to start here at 14 to keep things going.
100%. I had to make sure I knew what was going on here. The biggest position for the Colts for a long time has been that tight end position.
Absolutely. I feel like this is a pick of magic for a lot of Colts fans.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a beautiful fit. We're going to take probably the best tight end in this class. The standout from Penn State himself, dang near a hybrid receiver at this point, Mr. Tyler Warren.
Absolutely. You get a dog at that caliber, someone to run the middle. That's exactly what either AR or Daniel Jones need. That's the biggest weakness of your offense. Take some pressure off an aging Michael Pittman who can't do it all every season. Obviously, now you have a Donnie Mitchell to break up that offense. Add another piece. Keep things moving.
Yeah, I feel like he could very well be the Brock Bowers of last year's draft.
Absolutely.
We've seen what he did. All right, that brings us to the next pick at 15, the Atlanta Falcons. This is a team that I feel like kind of solidified their offense last year. Obviously, officially claimed Michael Penix Jr. as the starting quarterback. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and all those guys, they got good pieces over there. Why not help out the defense a little bit? Kind of a bigger struggle for you guys. The cornerback crew, the safeties, not so much. Guys like A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates. But down on that defensive line, you have a little bit of work it needs. And there's a very big talent still left on the board here. We're going to go with another edge rusher next best on the board, Mr. Michael Williams from
Georgia.
I'm telling you, the Georgia and Alabama boys are getting these up. I don't know why.
Keep trying to make that defense somewhat of a threat in Atlanta. Moves us to the Cardinals.
Absolutely. Very mid pick of the draft here, or middle of the draft here, is what I meant to say.
I'm sure they're happy to be at a lower spot, though, after their high selection of Marvin Harrison Jr. last season.
Right. Turned around a little bit, I guess you could say. But what we seen a lot of last year was Kyler Murray scrambling around, making plays on the run and making plays with his leg, most importantly.
Showing that he still had a chance, but he needs time.
Yeah, you got to help protect him a little bit more. Your interior O-line is what needs the most help. You drafted Paris Johnson Jr. last year or the year before as well, I believe. So why not go help out the interior with the best interior offensive lineman on the board? Maybe a little bit of a reach, but nothing too crazy. We're going with the Alabama product, Mr. Tyler Booker. A little bit down on this board.
Beautiful.
We'll rock with it.
The Cincinnati Bengals. Again, more local fans stand up.
Absolutely.
Chewy. Obviously, we know the biggest key need for this team. Defense was a glaring need. Glaring hole. Terrible last season. You lock down T. Higgins now. Jamar Chase are both here to stay. Rejoice for the offense.
100%.
But that defense needs help.
Big time. It could need even more help with the looming rumors of the Trey Hendrickson issue that's been ongoing this offseason. Obviously, the sack leader last year was like 2 or 3 the year before. A big piece for them on that very struggling defense. So even with Trey Hendrickson, you still need help on the other side. Without him, you need a lot more help. There's a couple big names left here on the board, and none other than remaining in the orange and black. We're going to go with the Tennessee edge with a big name before the year. This year could have been the number 1 pick in a lot of mock drafts. Mr. James Pierce Jr.
Absolutely. Eagles fans, I'm sure, would be happy with that pick.
100%. Keep him in the orange.
Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. This is a team that's going to look a lot different.
Yeah. You got rid of Lockett. You got rid of DK Metcalf. You got rid of Geno.
Yeah.
You got Cooper Kupp.
You moved on from
Sam Darnold. Yes.
Yeah. But what you didn't pick up in this offseason was any sort of defense. You need a lot of help over there ever since the loss of Bobby Wagner. Your linebacking core has been kind of trash. Your corners are okay with Witherspoon and Woolen. And your safety with Julian Love, but that front 7 needs a lot of help. There's a few options that you could take here. But there's a big, interior linebacker still left on the board. Played very well last year for another big defense. Let you go ahead and announce.
Mr. Jahad Campbell from Alabama.
Absolutely. Just help give them that leader of the pack over there, guy that can, make call out to handle the play calling and things of that nature. And a big guy in the middle just to kind of help them out a little bit.
Absolutely. Try to stop the other team from scoring because your offense is going to have a hard time doing it.
More than likely.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock.
This is a team that kind of exceeded expectations, I guess is the way to put it last year. I didn't expect them to, or at least their offense to be as good as it was with Baker Mayfield. But you have needs elsewhere. The offense kind of stayed the same. You retained Mike Evans and Chris Godwin this offseason. You still got up-and-coming Bucky Irving, K-Dot, Rashad White, all the boys. And your offensive line,
Absolutely.
If we're being honest, might be the best O-line in the league. You have the best tackle in Tristan Wirfs. There's not a lot of help needed over there. Go help the defense. There's some talent left on the board. A couple big names on the edge still that have a lot of potential and ability to grow as we go. And you just lost Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. You need someone to kind of fill that role. He was a big starter for you guys. So why not go get the Texas A&M prospect? A lot of potential again, Mr. Shamar Stewart.
Absolutely beautiful pickup for that defense. Another piece they can add. Obviously, offense, like you said, already stacked and healthy.
Absolutely.
Denver Broncos. Family ties here. Gave us a lot more research into this pick every time we talk about it the last few weeks.
Yeah.
I think we know where they go here.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk on Ashton Jeanty. Obviously, this offseason being the best running back in the class by far, no question. But this is a very deep running back class that not a lot of people talk about. There's a lot of big names behind Jeanty that could be playmakers in the league. And the Broncos are in very desperate need of a running back after the loss of, was it really a loss of Javonte Williams? Didn't really play well last year.
But a huge hole, question mark, whatever you want to call it, running back, it should be number 1 for the Broncos. I feel like our last 2 mocks should have either one of these picks nailed.
Yeah.
I feel really good about them. But again, this running back class, I feel like there could be 2 or 3 in the first round. for the first time in a long time, just because of the talent.
100%.
But we're going to go ahead and do it this year.
Yeah.
We're going to have another running back selected. The Denver Broncos are going to take Mr. O'Marion Hampton from UNC.
Absolutely.
Get themselves a playmaker.
Probably the next best running back in the class after Ginty. A guy that had a very big year for UNC last year and could come in and immediately be the number one guy over in Denver.
Yeah. Oh, familiar pain.
It's all you, brother. I'll let you handle this one.
Oh, it's been painful. Obviously, we're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers. He's going to wait probably until the day of or the day before to announce his news. He's got to be the face of football news in his mind. We're going to sit and wait. That's probably going to change our decision. That's the painful thing is that the morning of the draft, we're going to have to, all right, change the draft board, boys. But if not, there's one guy left that I've started putting faith in. I've had to put faith in a lot of different random quarterbacks this offseason. It's still such a huge question mark. We're not running with Mason Rudolph. I'll tell you that much, not again.
Sure hope not.
But if we're here, if he's here, it's a Steelers thing to do. We did it with Kenny Pickett. We're going to do it with Jackson Dart. Even if we get Aaron Rodgers, you mentioned it.
Yeah.
It's a one-year pickup. Maybe we just finally build for the future. Not a Steelers thing to do, but we'll see.
I mean, it's one of the better things to do. Mike Tomlin's a very smart coach. Drafting a quarterback and putting him behind a legend like Aaron Rodgers, who's been through so much in the league already, can help Jackson Dart's development by miles. And if he's really just there for a one-year deal to see what he can do, Jackson Dart could very well take over next year with the leave them the opportunity to draft elsewhere in the 2026 draft. Beautiful.
Los Angeles Chargers.
All right, Los Angeles Chargers. Their biggest need still remains to be a wide receiver, tight end, playmaker of some sort.
Someone for Justin Herbert to get the ball to.
Yeah.
To actually get downfield.
Yeah.
Can't ground and pound every time, Harbaugh.
You lost Dobbins, but you picked up Najee, former Steeler. But you still need help there. The defense probably could use a little bit of help, but you have to be able to move the ball to keep up in any sort of game. So why not go get a former Jim Harbaugh player for the Michigan Wolverines, the second best tight end in the draft, Mr. Colston Loveland.
He loves his Michigan players. It's a position of need. You get someone to add to that ground and pound blocking and the tight end position that you so love to do. Smash made in heaven.
100%.
Brings us to the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, an offense that started to grow. You got Josh Jacobs. I mean, it really sparked things. Obviously, the growth of Jordan Love continues. Your defense looks amazing with Jair Alexander. There's a couple pieces that you can still move around and hope for, but a lot of wide receiver twos.
100%.
We've talked about it a lot.
100%. Now, when you look at this team, you think wide receiver is probably the least need that they have due to so much depth at the position, but what they showed last year is what they need the most. Jordan Love has to have a guy that he can rely on at any moment, not just one of the five, and hope they go up and make a play or something of that nature. They're still a pretty big name on the board. He was probably the second-tier wide receiver for his team last year just due to the up-and-coming freshman status of Jeremiah Smith. But we're going to go with Ohio State standout, former or reigning national champion, should I say, Mr. Nika Egbuka for the Green Bay Packers. Should give them a solidified number one receiver, a guy that can progress and eventually be, maybe the next Devontae Adams in Green Bay. You never know.
See? Brings us the Minnesota Vikings. You look to be sticking with J.J. McCarthy if things pan out the way they should.
Right. Gave up on Rodgers. And you made a lot of moves this offseason. Obviously, your playmakers on offense are solidified. You need no help anywhere. The offensive line could need a little bit of help. The defense, you made a few changes on the defensive line. It's kind of better. Picked up Jonathan Allen for the interior. Cornerbacks could use a little help and probably safety. But we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the end of the first round here. And some things have to Or no, this is a totally different pick than what I thought. This is a very, very much of a steal for the Vikings here, should I say. I totally forgot this is where we had him.
Yeah.
Once again, you need safety help. Harrison Smith's getting a little older. Josh Metellus probably not the answer up top once he leaves. So why not go get a guy that probably shouldn't be here at this point in the draft? But another Georgia Bulldog, probably the best safety in the entire class, Mr. Malachi Starks.
Yeah, someone that if he were to fall to a 24, it'd be a steal. There's always that chance. You never know how the draft pans out.
Especially the safeties.
Exactly. If it pans out how mock draft 3.0 panned out, and he's here in Minnesota, should be very happy. Like you said, a position of upcoming need and possibly very much needed free safety position.
100%. Houston Texans are next. Let me refresh my brain where we went here.
Absolutely. I mentioned the other day you like to have all your favorite teams, like second favorite. I don't want to make you sound like a bandwagon. That's not how this is. Let me rephrase. But you pick out the breakout teams a season before it happens almost. You loved C.J. Stroud before he came into the league. Quick switch up. But you mentioned the Rockets a season before their breakout.
My God.
You got a history. So, I mean, what do the Texans do to keep building on to that success? Everybody wants to talk about the sophomore slump, but we talked about it wasn't necessarily that. He had such a great rookie season that it looked, in contrast, worse.
Yeah.
Rough schedule, etc.
I mean, he set the bar so high for himself that anything lower than what he did was going to be a sophomore slump. But we got to talk about a few things here. He dealt with a lot of wide receiver injuries last year. Missed all of his receivers at some point in the season. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, obviously out probably the remainder of this year as well. Big injury for him. But the biggest talk of the offseason so far has how many offensive linemen they've traded away. Laramie Tunsil was moved. Kenyon Green was moved. You opened up a lot of holes in that offensive line, and what are you going to do to protect C.J. Stroud? I mean, he's a guy that needs the protection. Obviously, a healthy Nico Collins. Now he'll probably have him most of the year, but he's got to have time to do it. He's not the most mobile guy in the world.
Get you a mix in space.
Absolutely. There's still a couple big names on the offensive line here. They've kind of faded their way out of this draft a little bit. But there's a big guy, another Longhorn, actually. I know the trend continues, but another great tackle that could fill the role of the Laramie Tunsil trade. We're going to go get Kelvin Banks Jr. to hopefully help keep C.J. Stroud up and alive back there.
Absolutely. The Los Angeles Rams.
Absolutely. You read from my brain again? Okay. Yeah. I remember this one now. This is a weird team.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they have a spot that's like you absolutely need something.
Yeah, the addition of Devontae Adams going to add with the weapon of pooping into it.
The offense is great. You don't have any skill positions in need. Kyron Williams is fantastic. I feel like you have to go to the defensive side of the ball. And there's not even really a gaping need on the defense, if we're being completely honest. They're getting a little older at some positions, but they've kind of reset that defensive line. I feel like they're okay down there. Jared Verse showed a lot of potential this year. Braden Fitz, Kobe Turner, and those guys. Your linebacking core is your safeties and your corners are also, I guess, kind of at this point. Tre'Davious White didn't quite work out for them, so they need somebody that can fill maybe some nickel packages, some dime packages, things of that nature. So I feel like the next best potential and build-up wise corner in the draft is a runner-up for the Natty this year in Mr. Benjamin Morrison.
Absolutely. Still a good pick for a team like the Rams. This is a position where you just take a development-type piece. You don't have to go for a franchise-changing player right away.
Right.
Brings us to the Ravens.
Yeah.
Division foes.
My memory is horrible. Okay. The Ravens, man. This is another team that doesn't really have a gaping hole. They're a very well put together team. Obviously, had a great year last year, getting bounced by the reigning MVP Josh Allen and the Bills. But
I mean, it really starts at 26. But these last few teams in the draft are really all set. They're just fundamental developmental pieces for the future.
100%. The offense is really good. maybe you could use some help at receiver, but I don't know if there's necessarily a name at the moment that could stick out that large this point of the draft. I guess I say that weirdly. There's a look wide receiver later that we say we'll get into that.
You need help over top on the defense. That secondary is the biggest, I guess you could say, concern.
I wouldn't even necessarily call it a concern. I mean, Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton are very terrific players. But
Nate Wiggins, outside.
But you let Marcus Williams walk. He never turned out to be anything. He never was going to. Marcus Williams, I hope he doesn't succeed anywhere.
Yeah.
Just due to what he did to us. But go get, a guy alongside Kyle Hamilton, let him play up in the box, give you a guy that can kind of ball hawk over the top. And arguably with Malachi Starks are argued to be the best safety in the class. We're going to go with South Carolina prospect, excuse me for the pronunciation, Nick Eamon-Wari.
Been a dog.
Absolutely.
Detroit Lions. Talk about a team with no needs.
Yeah. Once again, this is just the spot of the draft where things get weird. A lot of the bigger names are gone.
Yeah, develop and fundamentals. I said it last mock, I'll say it again. They saw what happened with the loss of Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, they're still really deep and there's a lot of talent. But the minute you lose a part of that defense, things can get thin.
Yeah, I completely agree. We seen that last year with obviously the loss of Aiden Hutchinson. You need to go out and make sure that doesn't happen again. You don't have to go sign or trade for Zadarius Smith just to fill a hole in need.
Yeah.
So why not go get another guy that's still on the board, probably the best edge rusher left on the board, a guy that can be a little bit of a project for a guy like Dan Campbell. And the Marshall guy himself, Mr. Mike Green. Very weird end of the season for the Marshall boys. Let him get into a new good environment.
Absolutely.
Detroit. Next up.
Game from the bowl. Rookie Jaden Daniels and co.
The Washington Commanders. This is a team that's filled so many holes. They've made so many moves in the trade market. It's crazy.
Yeah, they look deadly.
Yeah, they moved off a lot of those guys like Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, brought in obviously Marshawn Lattimore and Deebo Samuel, and a couple other names. I mean, they look to be ready to make another run. Excuse me. But I feel like the biggest thing left they need to do is just to make sure Jaden Daniels is very well protected. Make sure nothing happens to your franchise quarterback, and go get a guy that is very big for his position at Ohio State. Another very much of a project guy, Mr. Josh Simmons.
Absolutely.
That offensive line starting to get a little older. Just make sure you don't lose anything there.
Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah.
We've skipped over them enough. This is the one season they don't trade their pick and position of need to the Chiefs. They stick and take. He's still here. Luther Burden.
Yeah. He's a guy that fell down a lot of the draft boards just due to the finish of the season he had. He's still a very talented guy. A guy that could be a number one wide receiver for the right team and the right development crew. And Josh Allen needs targets.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say MVP talent, but now finally MVP.
Yeah.
Josh Allen. And still nobody to necessarily throw the ball to. Keon Coleman didn't necessarily pan out the way you hoped.
Yeah.
Was he used the right way? You even got Amari Cooper. Was he used the right way? He didn't pan out the way you hoped.
Right.
A lot of question marks. You go get a stud. You go get 6'2" Luther Burden. Be a dog for the Buffalo offense and catch balls for MVP Josh Allen.
100%. We have 2 picks left, and it's the Super Bowl teams themselves, Chiefs and the Eagles. Chiefs are at 31. Obviously, this is a team, once again, that just doesn't have many holes. They should have their wide receiver core back next year, but they traded away Joe Thuney to the Bears this offseason. You got to make sure you can keep up with the offensive line and keep your $500 million quarterback protected and happy. Go get a guy with some potential that maybe you can develop over the years with Mr. Gray Zebel from North Dakota State.
Absolutely. Super Bowl team themselves. Can't really say there's nothing to need. They've lost pieces. They picked up pieces. They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
continue to build up that dominant offense. Obviously, you got Jalen Carter and co. Quinion Mitchell. The defense is nuts. Obviously, Eugene Cooper. Take 6.
Cooper Dejean.
Yeah. See,
Eugene Cooper.
it's been a long day. Okay. Let my brain come to itself. Cooper Dejean. Take 6 in the Super Bowl on Patrick Mahomes, by the way.
Factual.
But defense is nasty. Just continue to build it up.
Yeah. Make sure nothing happens to your big guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. And even those guys are going to need more help with the aging. And the loss of Josh Sweat now to the Arizona Cardinals was a pretty big piece for them. Go make sure nothing happens to that D-line. Draft another very big prospect in the middle from Oregon, Mr. Derek Harmon at the defensive tackle position.
This got the Eagles' need listed as wide receiver.
That's a wild.
If you don't fire everybody on your staff,
it's a beautiful draft, though. Love to see it. All right, well, there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Our 32-pick first-round mock draft 3.0 for the Travis and John show. We might have maybe 1 and 2 more. We'll see how the schedule pans out. We're about 4 weeks away from the NFL draft, about 28 days or so, somewhere around there. So we're gearing up. We're on the home stretch. So maybe you'll see it probably at least 1 more in the next 4 shows or so before draft night.
yeah, I'm sure as things break down, as we get closer to the draft, we get more news as teams may release who they're tuned into, etc. Yeah, I mean, we may find trade targets. Things should develop for another mock, I'm sure, before draft day.
100%. But for now, that's where we're staying. So, displayed on the screen before you. I'm sure we'll have some kind of social media post or something out for it here in the near future. But for now, it's on the screen in front of you.